Hello, my name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your families by coaching you in real estate. And today, what we're going to be talking about is whether or not it's a good idea for you to be looking at living off-grid. So there's a lot of definitions, and I see a lot of people like really interested about this. I don't know if that means that they're looking at making the move themselves or just interested in the lifestyle, but I'm going to be talking about just from what I've seen of my perspective about people going and living off grid, and also because I've just had a lot of people kind of reaching out to me and asking questions about this, so I figured I might as well make a video out of it. So before we get started though, do make sure you give this video a like. If you haven't done so already, do make sure you subscribe. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of, is off the grid living possible? And if so, what all goes into it? So let's go and jump into it. Number one, let's define what off-grid living really looks like. So off-grid, I've seen, really has come to encompass a lot of different things, anywhere from just living in a town that's really remote to legitimately not being on the electrical grid or having any kind of regular utilities or anything going to the property. So there's a lot of definitions I've seen there. For our purposes, we're going to be talking about properties where they are super remote, like you can only really get there by, by flying or boat. And also, we'll talk a little bit about, I really feel like the subsistence living really plays into it as well, because that's kind of what a lot of people are thinking of, where they're more or less living off the land. And we'll talk about, is that really possible in the world that we are currently in? So that's kind of my definition. It needs to be remote to where you can only really get there by plane or boat, and there needs to be a certain element of subsistence living. Not 100% necessarily, but you need to have some kind of food source that's beyond just the grocery store. So hunting, fishing, gardening, stuff like that. So that's going to be our definition getting started. The second thing I would say is that it sounds really appealing for a lot of people, but you got to decide whether or not you are willing to pay the piper for this lifestyle, because it's not easy, okay? And when you're getting into it, you're going to have a lot of issues. Like, you got to figure out, okay, what are we going to do for food? What are we going to do for energy? What are we going to do as far as like our septic system? Are we going to use some kind of an outhouse, bathroom? What does that look like? What's the living situation going to look like throughout the year? What happens if something goes wrong with our systems? What's the backup plan at that point? Are we ready to be so isolated? Because I know it sounds really appealing, but a lot of people, they'll get out there first couple of days and they start sinking in. Oh shoot, this is not really what I was thinking it was going to be. So there are a lot of people who are thinking about it, but you got to decide for yourself, first off, am I willing to pay the price here? Because it is not an easy lifestyle. And I've had a number of people reach out to me saying, hey, I'm wanting to just go live 100% off the area, and I'm going to be looking at hunting, fishing, and panning for gold. Those are going to be my sources of a living in the area. So going full on mountain man. There are varying degrees of living off grid, like we've said before. A lot of people, they will live pretty remote, but they'll still have like a couple of big shopping trips, each month, each year, or whatever, so that they do actually have income. So they actually do have some sources of food and other wares coming in. So it's not 100% depending on how good of a hunter you are. So that's number one. Make sure you're willing to pay the piper, because it is very appealing on paper. Believe me, I know the appeal of just getting off the radar, not having to be as connected with the world. One of my best recent experiences was just getting off grid for a little bit, getting into a tent, and just having silence and not having my phone blown up at all hours of the day. And that was really, really relieving. But long term might not be for me long term. let's take a break real quick. If you're looking at moving to Alaska and you want to have more answers to the basic questions, what it's like living here, do make sure you check out my relocation guide that's free for download. Link for that is going to be down below. We also have a video up above talking about how to actually go in and download it. Should be pretty intuitive though. But certainly go check that out. That'll be a good resource for you as you're deciding what you want to do moving into the future. So without further ado though, let's go and finish up today's video. So as I'm starting to wrap up here, yes, it is possible to live off grid, but it is a very, very challenging kind of a lifestyle. And to really get yourself ready for it, you need to be very comfortable with camping. And I'm talking about real tent camping and where you're 100% dependent on what you just brought in your pack kind of camping, not trailer or pop-up kind of camping. Like actual camping, you've got to be very comfortable with that, and you have to be very comfortable hunting and fishing. If you don't have any skills in these areas already, and I mean like actual like skills, not just something you can do, then you're really gonna be on the struggle bus quite a bit when you're getting started. So that's really what you need to look at. It is possible to live off grid up here in Alaska, but you really have to decide, how committed am I to this lifestyle? And if the answer isn't, I'm ready to jump in regardless, whatever else is going to come my way here, and I've got all the logistics planned out. I know how I'm going to get there on a regular basis. I know, I'm decent enough with building stuff. I, know how my food's going to be getting out there. I know how the energy and power is going to work in the area, and I've got a plan for all these different things. Then you're ready to actually start looking at it. And once you've kind of got that figured out, then you can start figuring out what part of the state that you're looking at. If you move further north, it's going to get a little bit more intense. Okay, the environment is going to be a little less forgiving especially when you're getting started out, and you might not be used to the cold. So if you're looking at doing some off-grid living, it might be better to go check out South Central or even the Kenai. So this has been kind of our talk about, is the off-grid living possible? It is. You just have to decide if the lifestyle is really for you. For a lot of people, they can kind of scratch that itch just by going on a week or 2 week long camping trip, and they're going to be perfectly fine. I have a lot of lifestyles that I really do enjoy watching that are entertaining. It doesn't necessarily mean I want to go do it myself though. So, that's just something for each person to consider themselves. So, I sure hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, do reach out to me through my Facebook page. Link for that is going to be in the description section down below. Other than that, hope you got some good out of this, and we'll see you next time.